More than 7,000 fans packed the International Sports Stadium at Coffs Harbour to see Manly struggle with kicks in the opening half. Craig Field twice failed to find touch with penalties, while everyone except for Matthew Gidley was fooled by the boot of Andrew Johns. Johns landed the extras for a 6-0 lead before the Knights again went on the attack, only to see their chances of going further in front slip away. The action was hot. John Hopewadi and Robbie O'Davis both given 10 minutes to cool off. Mark Glanville was given the rest of the match after that tackle, and with the Knights down to 11 men, Terry Hill backed himself to put the Sea Eagles back in the match. Newcastle lost another star early in the second half, this time through injury, Andrew Johns tearing ligaments in his ankle. Then Craig Innes tore through the Knights' defence, but referee Jeffs wasn't convinced. The third umpire was. No need for adjudication for Steve Menzies' touchdown, nor Adam McDougall's. Then Darren Albert flew in the final minute to level it all up at 14 points apiece. With the final siren gone, Robbie O'Davis then had this to steal the match.
The death has confirmed the oyster industry's worst fears. Of the 300 reported cases of hepatitis A over the past few weeks, at least 1/3 have been linked to contaminated oysters from the Wallace Lakes area near Foster. The epidemic has spread to Queensland and South Australia.
No one in this department can recall an outbreak of this size sourced from a single source.
The Health Department says it has overwhelming evidence identifying sewage overflow as the source of the problem. Septic tanks from households and a caravan park near the town of Nabiac under suspicion. The tests also showed the presence of sediments containing other gastrointestinal viruses.
We'd like to reiterate our advice to the general public not to eat oysters unless they can be sure they're not sourced from Wallace Lake.
The outbreak has forced the industry to recall oysters and close the fishery. Although a death from hepatitis A is rare, the disease is highly contagious. Early symptoms include fever, nausea and abdominal pain.
The fundamental protection against the spread of hepatitis A in the community is observation of stringent hygiene precautions.
Government authorities, including the EPA and the Department of Water Resources, are evaluating the estuary's future.
A breakfast launch for Hunter this morning. Special guests from Canterbury joining Mariners players, sponsors and staff for the official start of the season. Leading proceedings, the introduction of the Mermaids. They got the smile of approval, so too the announcement of the first grade team to play in the Super League debut. Robbie Ross's fullback, Beecham and Thompson are on the wings, Goddins and Zisti are the centres, Hill and Goldthorpe the halves, while the forward pack comprises Pinchinelli, Iro, Marquette, Madison, McCormack and Dooley. The captain?
Static, mate. I'm really wrapped. It's been 18 months waiting for this to happen, and just to get the cabin season icing on the cake, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Coach Graham Murray was pleased with Iro's efforts in the trial match against Canberra on Friday. He led by example and also kept the pressure off the experienced playmakers in the team, Robbie McCormack and Noel Goldthorpe.
That's probably a good point, that Tony can just go out and lead by example and leave it to the playmakers, your dummy half and your halfback, to organise the rest of the team.
At Breakers Stadium, the soccer park has given way to become a football oval. The posts are up and everyone expects there to be nothing in it come Sunday.
I'm sure it's going to be a very close game up till, maybe 10 minutes from the end, where maybe a little bit bounce of the ball might go either way.
But the Mariners say they know only one way.
Oh, we're desperate. I think we've had a chat about it already, and the players don't want to walk off that field with anything less. So it's going to be a long, hard day, but we're keen and fired and ready to go.
They're two of the finest tracks in country New South Wales. $3 million has been spent at Muswellbrook, more than $10 million at Scone. But now some people in the industry are asking whether that's money well spent, with the tracks just 30 kilometres away from each other.
When you look at the amount of racing studs that are around here and the amount of thoroughbreds that are produced in the Upper Hunter Valley, we can both race together. We are quite compatible.
We both have very good turnovers with the TAB. The punters like to bet on both tracks. There's a big area of a big number of horses trained in this area, so I think we can live together.
But early results show the state government's Racecourse Development Fund has been no better than an each-way bet. Muswellbrook has lost 3 race days a year in a cull of meetings throughout the state, despite generating the highest turnover for a country track. And Scone is losing $70,000 a year as the state government continues to delay the introduction of a promise scheme to pay for track maintenance.
This scheme hasn't been introduced, so the problem we're finding is the track's costing us an awful lot more to maintain than the money we're returning from it.
The scheme is expected to be introduced by the middle of the year. A review of the taxes on racing is also underway. But the Minister for Racing says it's not as simple as throwing a fistful of dollars at racing's troubled tracks.
There are 237 race clubs across the 3 codes in this state. You can go to all states, all the territories, combine them in Australia, and you still haven't got that many. Now that in itself tells the story.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News. The extraordinary council meeting was supposed to settle the rezoning issue once and for all. But after nearly 4 hours of debate, the decision was to defer.
It does get frustrating, but as long as we get there in the end, that's the main thing.
The fate of the Holiday Inn proposal on Wharf Road will be decided in a fortnight, when a council committee considers changes to the original plan. But Lord Mayor Greg Hees has already indicated which way he thinks the vote will go.
So apart from this issue about how we acquire and maintain the access way and its width, I feel confident that if we can find adequate solutions to that, we'll be adopting the local environmental plan.
This would place Newcastle's second hotel proposal in doubt, with developer Richard Owens on the record as saying he'll pull out if the Holiday Inn goes ahead. He claims the 4-storey building just across the road will block views and force an Intercontinental Hotel to dump the project. Newcastle Council meets again tonight. On the agenda, the height the hotels can be built. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
The state government announced a safety crackdown after an octopus ride at the Rylstone Kandos show broke, killing an 11-year-old girl. Although there are no octopus rides at Newcastle, work cover inspectors moved into the showground today, double-checking attractions.
To make sure that the rides are structurally sound as they're erected, as you see we're out here while they're being erected, and also then once they're erected and in operation, to come back again and just make sure that the owner of the device is running it in a correct fashion and not placing any members of the public at risk by their actions when it's in operation.
There are more than 60 major rides at the show, but inspectors are confident they'll have been checked before it opens on Thursday.
I can quite clearly say to anybody that wishes to attend the show, they can come here with all the confidence in the world that they will arrive safely and depart safely without any risk to themselves.
The only other worry facing show organisers is the weather.
Well, it's only the beginning of show week, and of course, being eternal optimists, we believe that she'll be right for Thursday.
This century-old carousel at the entrance has captivated generations of local families and tourists by its special charm. But it seems the unique attraction could be lost to the area for good. Wyong Council is developing the site and plans to relocate the family operation.
They're saying though the Haas families go to Site 1 in front of the hotel, or we call tenders for another merry-go-round, and that's not good enough as far as I'm concerned.
Councillor Millard has joined owner Alexander Haas in fighting the proposal. Mr Haas claims the new site opposite the entrance hotel will place young children and his machinery at risk, a chance he's not prepared to take, and he'll leave the town if he has to.
If I have to go out of town, I will go with those.
Councillor Millard says the loss would be tragic for the area.
This merry-go-round's been in this town for 86 years. It's part of the history of the town. It's part of the culture of the town.
Meanwhile, the hotel owner claims there had been no problems with a previous fun park next door. Wyong Council has recommended the move to the new site, and it will discuss the issue tonight. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
While tourism continues to grow in Port Stephens, so does the need to capitalise on it.
What we want to do is to fill in the dips between Christmas and Easter and Christmas. And if we could just fill in 80% of that, then we could employ the number of people we employ over January. There'd be nobody looking for jobs.
The Tourism Organisation of Port Stephens currently receives $200,000 each year from Council, but claims it needs double that to encourage a more consistent tourist trade. The call has sparked heated debate within Port Stephens Council, but last night it resolved to impose a tourism levy on local businesses to pay for the $200,000 increase.
Council in principle agreed to a 15% tourism levy on the commercial sector on the Tomaree Peninsula and 12.5% for the rest of the Port Stephens Council area.
But businesses off the beaten track say it isn't fair.
If Nelson Bay want to promote their area, they should pay for it themselves, and their businesses should pay for it. I don't see why we should have to pay for it. We don't get benefits from extra people travelling through or from the tourist trade.
The proposal will be forwarded to the New South Wales Minister for Local Government, Ernie Page, for approval. Meanwhile, a plan to lure more tourists to the region has been launched, a joint project between Port Stephens, Great Lakes, Gloucester and Dungog councils. They're aiming to pool their resources.
That's the inherent thing about ecotourism, is that you have businesses that take people to the areas, that teach them about how to look after the environment.
The Sailability Club of Pittwater was at Lake Macquarie to show off 3 access sailing dinghies, all of which are specifically adapted for people with disabilities. The simple layout of the boats and the addition of the latest helpful technology opens a new world for these sailors.
There are all levels of disability. We've been sailing with visually impaired people, with cerebral palsy people, with amputee persons.
In keeping with the aim of helping people with disabilities take control, the Melbourne-designed boats are fitted with either a joystick for paraplegics or a toggle mechanism which is strapped under the chin for quadriplegics. The 2.3 metre dinghies are also specially balanced to minimise the risk of capsize.
It was wonderful. It's made my year.
3 months ago, this area was totally impenetrable, choked and overgrown by bitu bush and lantana. Neglected for more than 20 years, the site above Cabbage Tree Bay is now being rejuvenated by the Nora Head Coastal Care Group.
We're making concerted effort to try and rehabilitate this area, which is now fragmented rainforest, and restore it to what it once was.
Armed with lots of enthusiasm and a $5,000 grant from Wyong Council's Tuggerah Lakes Catchment Committee, the volunteers plan to build a 2-kilometre nature trail and whale-watching platforms. Native wildlife and vegetation is already starting to thrive, but Mr Alexander admits there's still years of hard work ahead.
It's a big project and we're still looking for extra volunteers to come and help.
Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
It's been a long time coming, but today's signing of a joint venture brings Western Aluminium's Dross plant closer to reality. The original company has been joined by Japanese interests Asahi Seren in the $27 million plant. For the last 4 years, the site at Mitchell Avenue, Curry, has lain dormant as the community rallied over environmental concerns. Council has also opposed the plant, last week attempting to impose a $3 million environmental bond.
The environmental issue has already been dealt with by the court and they've made their decision, and it's not for the council to revisit this issue.
And with the recycling plant now approved, Western Aluminium believes the tide of community opposition has turned.
The majority of the residents of Curry are behind this project because it is going to create jobs in a town with a very, very high youth unemployment rate.
Sentiments backed up by the area's Chamber of Commerce.
This is the first significant industry that's come into the area for many years. I think it's a start of many more to follow.
A building application has been lodged with Cessnock City Council. Western Aluminium hopes to start site work in 6 weeks. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
It's a nursery of a different kind. This small humid room is home to hundreds of funnel web spiders. At the Australian Reptile Park on the Central Coast, Lynn Abra is leading the way in the world's first breeding program of the deadly spider to maintain the venom supplies needed by the Commonwealth Serum Laboratory to produce the anti-venom.
If we breed them, then we have a ready supply. That's the aim behind the breeding program.
Funnel webs thrive in moist conditions, but the recent long dry spell has depleted numbers. The park can no longer rely on locals to bring in the spiders. The breeding program the only way to prevent a shortage of the life-saving drug.
Many people are bitten by them, and it's a life-threatening situation for some people.
Only males, which are 6 times more toxic, are needed for the program, and they take around 3 years to mature. Already there are 1,000 hatchlings, and the park is experimenting with conditions to help speed up their growth. Meantime, more than 100 fully grown males are milked on a daily basis, and Ms Abra says it's the start of a big project.
We shall have thousands eventually, and it will be an ongoing thing for us.
The park says it still needs funnel webs, which can be taken to Summersby or the John Hunter Hospital at Newcastle. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
It was a rousing and powerful introduction to the new season, Knights loyalists joining to celebrate the club's past and hopeful triumphs in the future.
In 10 years' time, we'll be at an all-seat stadium at Broadmeadow, but still wearing red and blue, still the heart and soul of the Hunter. Let's go, Knights!
In a driving grassroots appeal, the Knights are hedging all bets on their 10-year history, the promotional theme, Heart and Soul. But it's not all tradition. A new playing strip was unveiled. It will get its first workout in Newcastle's Optus Cup start against St George. Another big reception, this time for the players. Then head coach Malcolm Reilly suggested the season will be one of the Knights' best.
I've sensed that there is a definite positive focus and they're out to achieve something big.
With the ARL season just a fortnight away, the Knights have their final pre-season trial tonight. A good early crowd has started arriving at Marathon for the NBN Telethon charity clash between the home side and Sydney City. Kick-off at 7:30. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
A hump on the back and big floppy ears makes a Brahman easy to recognise. But according to cattle judge Michael Fay, there's a lot more to picking a fine specimen.
And the main things I look for is muscling in bulls, length and muscling. They must be well balanced.
60 bulls and cows were led around the ring at the Newcastle show today, quantity matched only by top quality. Newcastle showgirl Alex Harrington was on hand to drape each winner with their colours, keen to be involved with the rural side of things.
I think you always have to put your best face forward so that people realise that agriculture is a continually changing thing.
With crowd numbers up 12% on previous years, organisers are confident this year's new 3-day format has been a success.
Well, we'll always have the option to extend it. You never know, we might extend it to 5 days. But at the moment, it's a little bit hard to say whether we'll go back to 4 or not.
Tonight's program includes sheepdog trials and a concert by Human Nature before the show officially wraps up for 1997 with a fireworks display. Vanessa Spark, NBN News.
A crowd well short of capacity gathered at Breakers Stadium to wish the Mariners bon voyage.
Yeah, it's been worth the wait. Just come down from Ceylon to watch the game.
Bad time too.
I think people should get behind them and support them anyway.
They set out in something of a tangle though. A fumble from the kick-off was put down to nerves and cost the home side points. Rediscovering their sea legs, the Mariners got on with the job. But Canterbury again snuck in for a try. A Paul Marquette touchdown introduced a new element of Super League, the video referee. The decision went the Mariners' way and Nick Zisti equalised at 10-all. Coming toward half-time, action came thick and fast. But then Matt Ryan got through for 4 points in the corner. Mariners coach Graham Murray confident going into the second half. It was hard slogging, the Mariners keeping the Bulldogs penned in their half, and then Iro and Goldthorpe found clear air to put the Mariners in the lead. Again the video ref and big screen were called on a Canterbury attempt. The pressure was on in the final minutes of the game and Silver got Canterbury in for a badly needed try. Final score on an action-packed debut, Canterbury 20, Mariners 16. In the women's jump, Queensland's Tony Neville had a blinder, stretching world title holder Emma Shear's best jump by more than 2 metres. Neville off the jump at 45.7 metres, Shear's best 43.3. In third place, Austria's Britta Llewellyn. Tony Neville again victorious in the women's slalom. In the men's, Ben Farford of the USA and Mike Champion finished their round in a tie and went to a ski-off, Mike Champion the winner. In the men's tricks, multiple world champion Patrice Martin of France outstanding, and in the women's, all eyes on Sarah Gatti-Saunt of the UK. In the men's jump, a major upset. John Livingston went out for a personal best of 62.4 metres, ahead of Curtis Shear's 61.4 and Canadian Jim Clooney's 60.5.
First, a spectacular display of lightning lasting for 30 minutes on the Central Coast. Then the storm hit with a vengeance. Fierce winds tore through the region, lightning strikes cutting power to many areas. A house in Bateau Bay was badly damaged. A tree was uprooted and dumped on the dwelling. The family was in Sydney. They returned to find their kitchen and dining room destroyed.
We usually have the family for dinner Sunday night, so I guess it was a blessing that they weren't here.
Further north, rain and hail wreaked havoc on properties. The roof of this house at Kitchener near Cessnock hurtling into a neighbour's yard. At South Cessnock, racehorses luckily escaped injury after the roof of a stable block was torn off and thrown against a row of stables nearby. Owner Robert Davies said he'd seen nothing like it.
Instantly in bang, it was horrendous. It was like a tornado. We'll just look at the trees, what they did to them. They've been there for 15, 18 years and just snapped them off like matchsticks.
More than 800 lightning strikes were recorded in the Hunter, with areas around Singleton, Muswellbrook and further west to Denman reporting damage. Meanwhile, there were celebrations as Singleton Hospital admitted its first patients since it was ravaged by a freak hailstorm in December. After the roof was destroyed and operating theatres and wards flooded, the hospital has been on a fast road to recovery.
There's been extraordinary cooperation for everybody, yes, trades people, our hospital staff, yes, they have. I think it's been a common goal to get our hospital back up and running as soon as possible. And
3 wards are open, with theatres, obstetrics and delivery expected to be online within a fortnight. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
It was a mark of the high esteem that Bishop Geoffrey Parker was held in that clergy from as far away as Darwin congregated at Newcastle's Christchurch Cathedral to pay their last respects. During an at times moving service, the casket was adorned with the symbols of a life dedicated to community and church. Bishop Parker first moved to the Hunter Valley as a priest in 1953 and despite opportunities to go elsewhere chose to spend his entire life in the area. His life though was not without controversy. In 1992 he ordained the first 3 women priests in the Hunter, a decision which took a heavy personal toll as it divided the church and emotions ran high. The bishop's body was cremated. His ashes will be interred at a place of honour at Christchurch Cathedral. Phil Hind, NBN News.
The release of this video footage for the first time reveals the power of the water as it surged into the shaft where the 4 men were working. This 60-tonne mining machine was picked up and dumped nearly 20 metres from where it was being used. Damon Murray, John Hunter, Mark Kaiser and Edward Batterham were killed by the wall of water and gas released after digging into an old water-filled shaft. And fresh evidence today at the Gretley Inquiry in Newcastle that there were warning signs of a build-up of water in the mine prior to the tragedy. Council assisting David Kirby QC says Mine Deputy Alastair McLean reported excessive water 3 times in the weeks leading up to the deaths. On November 4, Mr McLean said, "We are not getting close to the old mine, are we?" Mine manager Richard Porteous replied, "No, it's more than 200 metres from here." The last report was made on November 13, less than 24 hours before the men were drowned. With all 3 reports coming from the one deputy, Council assisting David Kirby QC questioned the vigilance of other deputies at the mine. The inquiry will continue in Newcastle tomorrow. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.